Call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, July 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Roll call to establish a quorum, Ms. Flock.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Here.
Supervisor Mark Hayne.
Here.
Supervisor Derek Daniel.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfle.
Here. We have a quorum. I think we just all introduced ourselves vis-a-vis. Who are the three people in this meeting room? We know one, we know two. Would you like to?
Taking those down, installing a new house on it, and made a lot of improvements already. I want to go to 5.668 acres in Heartland 5, and there's no Heartland 5 close to that. And zoning apparently has a problem with doing something that they don't have something close. There's a lot of countryside around and a lot of small lots, 2, 3, 4 acres, very close. But they said, well, we don't know about this Heartland 5 thing, and they suggested I come and see you and see if anyone on the board had strong feelings about not having the Heartland 5 as part of that. And if you had no objections, then they said we should go ahead and do the zoning process. I know you can't rule on anything because it hasn't been presented to you, but you know, they just said to come here and ask you what your feeling on it was.
And this is on the corner of Matthew and what?
Matthew and Moore. It's a 20-acre parcel. And it's, I can show you if you want to see.
Sure.
The eyes are not that good.
At that distance?
And then the balance would be in countryside. It's mostly wetland parcel, probably about 8 acres tillable. And we took off all of the ash on it. They're still removing some of the ash and trees out of it. And I had that set for reforestation, which is another reason on the rezone.
Is that on the west side of Matthew?
Yes. Yep. Yep. And it extends all the way to Gilbert.
Yep.
And Doc Martin next to me, and Steve Robach across the street.
Yep.
And
Peter Silka's.
yeah, Peter Silka and Eugene Hody.
Is this where you moved home?
No, I live on 5396T, on 80 acres across from Harry Porter. This is another project. I bought it as a tax sale back in 18 or 17. And I was going to rehab the house, which is 144 years old, and that didn't work out. So I bought another house, moved it onto the property, and
That's what I meant, that house came off of Lily Bay Road?
Yeah,
Okay, I remember that. All right.
and I'm still trying to find a contractor to put the sunroom back on it. So it's going to slow it down too.
So it's currently all ag?
It's all ag primary.
And what does Heartland do? I have no.
So the total parcel is 20.5 acres,
Yes.
and you are proposing to just rezone 5.66 acres.
And the balance in countryside,
Okay,
14
so
point.
the entire parcel prime ag now, so you want a portion to Heartland and a portion to countryside.
Correct.
So most of 15 plus would be countryside.
Yeah, 14 point something.
Okay, 14.92, okay. Well, for everybody's reference, I can give you the description of Heartland from the Door County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. It says Heartland 3.5. This district is intended for mostly rural areas of the interior of Door County where agricultural activity has been declining, or where a mixture of rural residential and agricultural activity is desirable or existing. District primarily provides for residential development at modest densities consistent with a general rural environment, and also provides for certain non-residential uses that require relatively large land areas and/or which are compatible with surrounding residential uses. This district secondarily provides for continued agricultural uses of land. Lot sizes of at least 3.5 acres are required for new lots.
There's a Heartland 3.5 and a 5.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
you
looking
were
at the
reading-
5.
You're reading 3.5.
Okay, so District 5, pretty much the same, density slightly less than 3.5. It provides for agricultural uses and other non-residential uses that require relatively large land areas. Again, lot sizes of at least 5 acres are required for new lots.
And what,
And this would be
And there's also a
5.668.
And there's also a Heartland 10.
And that's where this house is over here? Or the house that was moved is on this?
part of it on that
Yes.
parcel. What's the advantage to you between Heartland and Countryside, since you're now going from ag to?
All right. I could do 2 countrysides, but I'd wind up with flag lots on this to get a second user on it. And it's just, you know, if you've ever looked at flag lots, everybody hates everybody, and the surveyor said it's a horrible thing, my attorney said it's a horrible thing. So basically, if you go to get a mortgage on an expensive property and you're over 10 acres, it gets expensive. It's hard to do, you wind up with greenstone, something like that. If you have 10 acres and less, it's easy to do. And from my point of view, you know, I may sell the other place, I may move into, I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with this when I get done with it, I got a ways to go. What would the advantage to the town would be, you're gonna get 2 lots out of it, and eventually somebody building on the other one. It's already got a drive-in, and I put in a whole lot of money in improvements and clearing, and, you know, the rest of the buildings are coming down and so forth. But to me, that would be the major advantage.
And Countryside has at least 10 acres
Yeah.
So
required.
the second one would be 14.920, so it could be 10 or more on the countryside. But it's a nice clean way to divide it.
How do you think your neighbors would feel? I think is a question you'll have to get the answer on.
Well, we'll find out that answer when, you know, we go into the zoning thing. If you have no objections, I'll just go ahead and give them $750 and it'll all get mailed out. But all of those neighbors around it that I've talked to do not have a problem. You never know, but,
Yeah.
Well, once you,
so I'm willing to take that chance. It's just that the zoning people said, well, why don't you go find out if anyone on the board has a problem with it?
Until come back to us.
Yeah, we'll
It'll come back to you when I find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to spend your
But
money.
they said they would, if you didn't have a problem when I came here, they would probably give a favorable recommendation. But since there wasn't Heartland close, apparently when you do something that something's not close to, they don't like to do a favorable recommendation.
I can understand that, but
it would be hard for us to give a recommendation now when we don't know how
Oh,
the neighbors feel and not
Well,
looking at the
I'm not going to do a
surroundings.
recommendation for
I
it.
agree.
I just want to know if somebody's got a serious objection.
no, I don't think I've heard here. You
Thank you.
have to go
Appreciate
through the
your time.
process.
Good luck.
Thank you, I use it.
Anyone else wishing to speak? So, next item will be the adopt the agenda. I assume it was properly noticed, Amy?
The agenda has been properly noticed.
Motion to adopt would be in order.
I'll move to adopt the agenda. I believe it was amended, correct?
Correct.
As amended.
And I will second that.
Motion by Linda, second by Derek.
one change.
I'd like to move up Mr. Schrader to the first item of business on our agenda. If no one objects. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, all right. Approval of the minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from June 21st, and the Board of Review from June 28th. I think you've all had a chance to take a look at them, so the motion to approve would be the next step.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Supervisors meeting of June 21st, 2021, and the Board of Review minutes from the June 28th, 2021.
Motion by Jeannie, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we will hear the request for variance from Mark Schrader. And I will give Linda the floor since she had a meeting last week on that.
I don't know if, Mark, you want to just briefly explain your request, and then I'll give the comments from the Plan Commission?
Okay, what I did was, according to this, I went to the county to see about putting a portable building / garage, I call it a garage. It's one of those ones that are built down in Maribel, and you bring it up and drop it off, and that's it. I'd like to put it next to, I have a slab on the back side of my, I don't know if you have a map of it. Okay.
Yes, we
Yep.
have the
You
plan.
can see the white there, that's a slab that I had poured years ago. I never planned on building anything on it, it was just a platform, basically to park a trailer, which I do have parked on it now. I'd like to put that garage / shed right next to that, it's gonna be on gravel. I talked to the people that build it the other day, it weighs approximately 3,800 pounds. The reason I wanna put it there is because to the west of that, that's basically a wet area. I mean, I had water sitting there 2 days after the rain the other day, all the way back down in there. I can give you more history of it, but, and that's basically it. I wanna keep it back there, I don't wanna put it off to the left because I don't wanna go and have this shed, garage or whatever, out in the middle of the field to the left. To the right of the house, I got my mound in the back, and I've been planting trees as time progresses, as they survive. And that's about it. I just wanna keep it back close to the buildings and out of the way, and I can put my stuff that I have, I'm accumulating over the years, lawnmower, tiller, and everything else, and put it in there so it's closed. That's about it.
Thank you, Mark. So the Plan Commission heard this on Wednesday, July 14th. We had an interesting discussion. Went through the packet and the current zoning. It was brought to our attention that even though Mr. Schrader's parcel is zoned countryside, which is normally a 10-acre minimum, that your parcel was more or less grandfathered in, even though his parcel is only 2.75. So the setbacks, obviously, for 10 acres is a little deeper than when you look at, less than 3 acres. So we wanted that understood as well. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room when you go from countryside, that 10 acres and less. So the Plan Commission members, like I said, we had a healthy discussion. We started off looking at, and I believe this is in the board packet, the criteria for granting a petition for variance. So we looked at the physical limitations, and there again, we're looking at a 2.75 acre instead of a 10 acre. Will it have an effect on the public interest? There was no objections from neighboring property owners. In fact, I talked to one neighbor who said no problem at all. It was behind his parcel. And we did not see an unnecessary hardship, setting aside, the smaller lot dimensions. But we did look at, and this is on your packet as well, the general criteria. If you look at that very last sentence, that talks about public interest. And so, as far as public interest goes, we'd rather see a storage building further away from our, line of traffic and line of vision, rather than being up close to the road. So we felt that public interest with the storage building set further away from the road kind of improved aesthetics in the neighborhood. And of course, it's preferable to have items inside storage rather than outside, rather than being out in the open. Again, there was no, the reasons for our decision was there was no objections from the neighbors. Also, Mr. Schrader indicated that the structure was not necessarily permanent, that there was not going to be a foundation, that it could be disassembled if it needed to be. And again, he indicated the lowland back in that area. We had questioned if he could turn the building perpendicular from the current drawing, and that was not a preference or feasible, again, with the lowlands. Some of our concerns were, again, a growth zone countryside, but it is residential use, and we thought maybe the 50-foot setback was excessive, and the variance of 35 feet or more from the rear lot line was reasonable. I think that was about it.
And Steve's property is countryside as well, that backs up to him?
I believe we have the zoning map here, and that is
Here.
zoned, yes, purple, countryside. So the vote of the plan commission, it was carried to recommend to the town board to support Mr. Schrader's request, and that was 5 in favor and 1 opposed. So the motion carried. To support. Did I miss anything, Mike?
I don't think so. Yeah, just another thing, you guys got the map, so you can bring it up on the satellite. I did measure that concrete slab that I have there. It's 12.5 by 25, so it'll never, actually it'd be at least 5 feet to the south or towards the road, so it isn't gonna be as far back to the property line on the north side. So whatever that measures out on the satellite, it's gonna be at least 5 feet more
Off, yeah, further off.
To the back.
further off the property line.
Yep.
Now, the recommendation was at least 35 feet or more from the rear lot line.
Comments from the board? Questions?
Linda, I had wondered why the building couldn't be positioned differently, but Linda answered that.
Well, Mark was able to find out while he was here that he needs a building permit for his,
That's,
right, Mark?
yeah,
Yeah.
basically what it started out with, and I went back to something I received from the township, and it said, anything 150 square feet or less you could put on without a permit. But I seen this, and I wanted to make sure I was doing it the right way. So I went to the county, and I asked them, and they told me I needed a permit, and they came out and measured it, and they said I could not put it where I wanted to put it, so I had to get a variance, so then I'm here. And then so I've got
Lucky
money
guy.
invested in it, and
You're a lucky guy is all I can say. That's just it. I'm gonna nickname you Lazarus. Because from the beginning of the meeting to the end of the meeting, you went from dead to back alive. I don't think I've ever seen it in the time I've been on the board, so,
Oh, is that?
at least to this point in time,
Okay, well.
so.
A total turnaround.
Yeah, 180 degrees and still spinning I am. So, all right, no one has any questions? Any other comments? If not, a motion would be in order.
Well, I guess I would make a motion then that the town board send a recommendation of support for Mr. Schrader's request with the reasoning stated in the Plan Commission's decision. Public interest, nothing less than 35 feet from the back lot line.
All right, we have a motion by Linda, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Good night, Lazarus, and thanks for coming.
I'm gonna stick around a little bit more
All
because
right.
I'm retired, so I can start getting involved with this thing.
Okay.
All right, good to know. We'll put you on a committee, maybe the planning committee.
Well, I
Yeah, there you
game
go.
for it.
All right,
Oh, don't say that.
all right, we'll go back to the agenda in order that it appears. So the next item up for discussion is short-term rental ordinance. I think we've all heard about this effort for quite some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Linda for a few minutes, and we will go from there. So Linda?
Okay, well, again, the board has been provided with our draft short-term rental of residential dwellings ordinance as tweaked by the Plan Commission on Wednesday, July 14th. There were just a few revisions from the previous draft stating that, some of the conditions would be applicable only during a rental period. The one stay per 6 nights, or notification in that, this would be section 6HA, telephone contact information. We had telephone and email, and we felt that telephone would be the most expeditious. And telephone can mean texting, I think. So we deleted email. Under section 7 penalties, again, these tweaks are always on the advice of our attorney. So she suggested we include actual attorney's fees in the event of violations. So I think that was pretty much it for the ordinance. The short-term rental license application, and I hope you all have these documents, right?
They should. It was in the packet.
The main thing there is, well, I can talk about costs right away since we're talking about the application. We did recalculate what we estimated to be cost to implement and maintain this ordinance. So when we started looking at this 2 years ago or whatever, a year and a half ago, we estimated around 60, maybe 60 short-term residential renters. We now believe there are more like 78 short-term residential dwellings that are being rented. So the bigger the pot, we can reduce fees, because now we're allocating that among nearly 80 as opposed to 60. So again, the main thing there was the application fee. The initial application fee would be $300, and the renewal would be more like $250. And again, we reevaluated costs. So enforcement and maintenance and office supplies and that might have been gone down a bit, but the Granicus monitoring 80 sites instead of 60 went up a little bit. The Granicus for the full year is estimated to be $9,318. And then going back to the application, again, just the few tweaks was the fee. As far as that second box about a designated agent or contact, again, phone contact, 24 hours per day, 7 days a week during a rental. And then in the bottom box, instead of referring to license so much, we referred to our ordinance and, the regulations set forth in there. We tweaked the property rules a little bit. Again, quiet hours, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. We took out the public access blurb because the DNR has a very nice outline available at their website on as far as public access to the beach and riparian rights of your neighbors. Let's see. I think that was pretty much it for the application. Oh, pets leashed and minimize noise. We deleted the left unattended. We had hashed that out in a meeting a couple months ago. So that was it for the application. I believe you were all provided with a current listing of residential rentals as of July 1st or so. I think you were all provided with our frequently asked questions. Again, this information, we would plan to post everything on a website page. So we would have a separate page dedicated just for short-term rentals. Everything you ever wanted to know about short-term rentals. And hopefully that would avoid, calls to the office and things like that, with helpful links to, okay, this is where I get my DAPCAP permit, this is where I go for the tourism zone, this is where I go to the DNR to see about riparian rights. There's even a link out there, how to rent your house, that was published by the Realtors Association. So we think we've covered everything. I know there was always a question on enforcement, and our chairman brought that up at the last meeting. Hugh Zettel, one of our Plan Commission members who has been extremely helpful on gathering information, did come up with some thoughts regarding enforcement. And for myself, I'm hoping that, we'll be proactive rather than reactive. The owners have expressed their intent to be good neighbors and cooperate. So hopefully we will not have a huge enforcement process that we have to go through. I look at this ordinance as more of a reinforcement, actually, than enforcement. It reinforces what's required by the state, the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection. It reinforces, and DATCAP covers occupancy, the private on-site wastewater limitations. It reinforces that you need to have your tourism permit from the tourism zone, reinforces sanitarian requirements. Again, even down to the dog under your control. It's ordinances that the town already has, the county already has, so more of a reinforcement than enforcement. So I would say that 90% of this ordinance is reinforcement, and the one caveat is the 1 stay per 6 night registration of guests or rental period, whatever you want to call it. So again, to briefly summarize that, if you rent your residential dwelling Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you would not be able to have a second registration or second party until the following Tuesday. So you have that 1 stay per 6 night period. I think that's clear. And even our website will include samples as well. If you looked at the frequently asked questions, it tells you how to get this drawing of your property. It doesn't have to be to scale. You can go to land records, easily pull up a drawing. We'll have a sample parking. I took my own parcel and put little parking spaces, and I put dimensions, so my lot goes, 300 feet back and 200 feet to the south, and caution poison ivy in the non-mowed areas, so I think we have everything covered. I don't know if our chairman, if you wanted me to go into the enforcement a little bit more as Hugh outlined it, or?
No, I think we can work that through the committee and offline. I read that today. I think
Yeah.
we're on the same page there. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I did wonder on the web design, we're gonna have a separate section, so we're gonna go back to our web people and have them create that.
Right. I don't know what access Amy has now, because it's been a few years since I had access, but we should be able to set up pages.
We are.
should be able to set up links and PDFs, so click, 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 and it should take you wherever you want to go.
So you will do this, Amy? Is
I
that
will be
your-
in contact with Town Web Design,
Okay,
and then they will be able to set up that page, and then we will be able to add the links to it or
so you anticipate that to be relatively quick process?
yes.
Okay.
And Hugh and I offer to come help, or, like I said, Hugh did a lot of work on these links. I had the HTTPS, and he put it into language that, DNR.
Yeah, which is good. They have all the hot links
Yeah.
buried in there so someone can reference them right away.
And as far as, enforcement and making personal visits, again, I think Hugh outlined that pretty well. We don't anticipate that we're gonna be sending officers to these properties. We would rather that if you do have a concern or complaint, to go to Granicus and log your complaint there, because we would have, an audit trail, a documentation of, okay, what are the problems, and do we have the same problem occurring at the same address consistently? If we would need to serve a document, I was in contact with a process server right here in the Sturgeon Bay area, recommended by one of our law firms, and, he can serve documents if we need to go that route for any reason.
Okay.
But we'd start off, on a seeking friendly cooperation first.
Which obviously is the right way to go. And the other side is that by separating the ordinance from a resolution on the fees, should our enforcement efforts be substantially less, the renewal fees can be revised without us having to go back and modify the ordinance, which is a good thing. Linda and her group have done a yeoman's job of trying to coordinate and pull all this stuff together while dealing with a myriad of issues from those for and against and our own. And we've certainly allowed our attorney ample time to review this as best she can. As you may be aware, Liberty Grove passed basically this ordinance without the Night State component. So our attorney has talked with their attorney. They have mirrored their documents off of us. So we believe that we've covered as many of the possible bases that you could cover with respect to the document and where we stand from a legal perspective. I've sat through, I think, almost all but maybe one plan commission meeting, topping someone else in this room. But the thing that surprises me as I get to this point in time this evening is that we still have 30% of the short-term rental properties out there that are unlicensed. And this has not been a new topic or discussion. We know for a fact that people have been informed. Frankly, I'm very surprised by that number. I'm glad that it's declined. We obviously, in this process, have raised the issue so that people have been responsive, but still very surprised by the percent that sits out there that have not completed their application. So we will vote on the ordinance, and we will deal with the resolution and the fees as a separate item. And I guess my question is, who has some questions of Linda or whomever?
And as far as the compliance with DATCAP, those compliance requests are coming directly from DATCAP. They're not coming from us. We have one person assigned to Door County to, inspect and take care of our lodging industry. I'm sure he's overwhelmed because there's so many in Door County. They're growing day by day. So those compliance requests are coming right from DATCAP, not from the town. So again, like our chairman said, you've had how long to be compliant, and why are you ignoring that?
I also noticed that it says that 9 had received warning letters and still no response. Okay.
And the one stay, or one party per 6 night, I mean, municipalities have the option of, they have the option of saying maximum 180 days. You cannot rent your place more than 180 days a year. We had the option of setting a minimum stay, such as 4 nights or 6 nights. The feedback on that was, in the shoulder season, we don't have people that want to stay 4 nights, 5 nights, 6 nights. So there again, that gives owners a little flexibility. So.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Any comments from anyone else on the board? Derek, anything? Jeannie, Mark? Okay. Well, that brings us down to that inevitable point in time called a motion to move ahead with this or not.
Can I ask a question?
You certainly may.
Do you want an effective date, Mr. Chairman?
I think we would go along with the effective date that's suggested of November 1st with the follow-on of next July for the implementation of nights, yes.
So that gives owners almost a year to,
Deal
check
with
your
pending reservations.
reservations and that.
Okay.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Do you want to stand for this?
No, we don't have a number assigned yet, so I will make the motion that the town board approve and adopt ordinance number 2021- blank, whatever our next ordinance number might be. Short-term rental of residential dwellings ordinance of the town of Sevastopol in Door County, Wisconsin, as presented in the most recent draft, with an effective date of November 1st, 2021, and the stay 6-night, which would be effective July 1st of 2022.
All right, we have a motion from Linda and a second from?
I'll second that.
A second from Derek. Any further discussion?
Just to point out, then, we will not, like you said, there is a separate resolution as far as fees, so that would be at the board's discretion to set fees.
Correct. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we'll do a roll call vote on this. Nothing from anyone else? Amy?
Supervisor Danielle?
Aye.
Supervisor Waite?
Aye.
Supervisor Hain?
Aye.
Chairman Wolfle?
Aye.
Supervisor Vogel?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We will move on. Thank you, Linda, for your team's work and effort. And I know you still have a few things, more than a few things to do, but for this, and special thanks to Hugh, who I know really took on a lot of the legwork on some of these projects. So, okay. Next item here is, I gotta find my place, my apologies. Okay. Amy, I'm sorry to say, but are the frequently asked questions in this pile? They are. Okay, apologize, so many things on my desk. I'm going to just kind of go back for a couple minutes on where we were with broadband last year, and give you a little history, and then what's up today and where we're going tomorrow. So last year, if you recall, we partnered with Door County Broadband to put up multiple towers to improve internet access in the community. And the three communities, Jacksonville, Egg Harbor, and Sevastopol, partnered with the school as well to apply and put an application in the state for funding. The funds went to other communities, not to our town, and therefore our application fell on deaf ears. At the last minute prior to that application being submitted last year, I received a phone call from AT&T, who decided that they also wanted to place an application in and were looking for support. And under the process that the state used to review these, you got points towards your likely success based on the parties involved, the commitment, the cash, the partners, et cetera. At the time, I declined to support the AT&T effort. It didn't make sense for us to dilute the application and all the work we had put into that particular point in time, and so I declined it. They did not get funding either in that round. Okay, so what's happened since then? Well, the federal government has given us a bunch of money, $200 and some odd thousand, of which we've received approximately half, I think this last month. And there are restrictions on how that money can be used, but one of the right up front application or areas that we can use it for is broadband expansion. In addition to this, the state budget has also got money coming forward for broadband expansion. So there's really going to be two pots of gold, if you want to think of it that way, coming from the feds and the state, and then money that we've actually been given by the feds that we could apply towards broadband. So with that in mind, you can envision that with as much money that's out there, there's going to be other vendors that are interested in getting into this area and expansion. So one of the caveats, though, that has come up in both federal funds and state funds is that the internet speeds have to be 100 megabits per second, which is very high speed, which is along the lines that currently, if you have cable internet, it's in that general area. But by putting that requirement for speed into the application, it basically precludes any wireless effort. Now, historically, when AT&T approached us, they were looking at a wireless solution, just as we were with Door County Broadband. But given these speeds, what's going to have to happen, this is going to have to be fiber or some type of cable to the individual home in order to get this. And in addition to the speed, there's focus on, obviously, underserved areas. So we would not be interested in partnering with somebody to provide high-speed internet to the Bay Shore or to the Lake Shore because they already have charter access, right? So with these new guidelines, AT&T's wireless is eliminated and Door County Broadband would be as well. So a couple days ago, I received a phone call from AT&T, the same people that had contacted me earlier, asking for a letter of support. They are also looking for a monetary commitment, basically asking us to do something similar to what we had proposed to do with Door County Broadband. I indicated to the people that I'd bring this to the town board, but I would not make any commitment in the way of funds. I would put together a letter with your agreement that says we would be open to committing some funds, but I want to, one, see a map of where they are proposing to expand, what their timeline is, which they were going to get me, but I did not yet receive. And I also would like to take a look at the Door County Economic Development study, which we contributed $5,000 towards, which I guess is about halfway done, and find out where the opportunity exists and get a little bit more information. I am not aware, nor was the person from AT&T, not that they would necessarily know, but I think they'd have insights. They're not aware whether Cellcom or N-Site, as it's called, or Charter are looking to file an application, but given the amount of funds, it's logical to think that there are going to be somebody else that's going to throw their hat in the ring and say, hey, with $200 million sitting on the table, why wouldn't I take a look at this? So, my purpose tonight is to tell you that my gut feel is that we should support AT&T's effort. It would be fiber to the home, but we would not make any monetary commitment until we know all the rest. Although I would allude to the fact that we would be open to helping them so that they get more points in the application. So, feedback from any or all. Sure.
Would this still be in with towers?
No.
No, they would use existing facilities.
Oh, okay.
So either be on telephone poles or underground, whatever that exists is where they would go.
So we don't need to have a site for a tower
Correct,
off existing towers?
correct.
Well, I have, my provider, I'm usually okay, but come summertime, last year it was a weekend, this summer it's like every day.
It's
The
a
more
bandwidth.
users, it's
bandwidth.
so slow, it's almost unusable.
Don't even try to log on tomorrow night with the Bucks game. Doesn't even pay to
Oh.
try.
Oh,
Everybody's been trying.
It's bandwidth, yeah.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
said,
channels.
last summer, I could, my weekdays were good, but this summer, it's, and with that, thinking of the use, or what we can use those funds for, is that kind of tourism related as well, that we need better service? Because there's so many users up here? Just a thought.
when we get a little further into correspondence, I have some thoughts with respect to some of those funds that
Okay.
I'll share with you as well. But I think there's some latitude on how we use that money, but it's pretty constrained as well. But we could get creative, maybe, see what's up. So, does anyone have issue with the town taking a position of support then with AT&T?
I'll take a question from the floor, and I happen to be on the technology committee too.
Should I make an exception?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Has there been any thought and evaluation on, what's the Elon Musk system?
Starlink.
I think that's got speeds over 100 megabits per second.
It does.
It's guaranteed 50 to 150. That's the guarantee on it.
So rather than just dedicating ourselves to terrestrial, I know there's a pilot program going on in Wisconsin somewhere about subsidized satellite downlink as an alternative.
And that could very well be an option.
But I just want to make sure that that stayed an option for what you're talking
Jim, one of the other members of the committee, that I chair and you serve on, is Derek Demise, and he is a beta tester. So he's been informing, and when we do, I'm gonna call a meeting soon, and when we do, that'll be part of our discussion.
Okay,
Those
I just
kinds of
wanted to
things.
be sure that
Yeah.
whatever action you're thinking of doing now doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think we're ready for
Going to-
action,
No.
No.
other than,
And I'm not so sure that it isn't Door County's Economic Council's effort with their study to try and come back, and either of you might know more about it, but to come back and simply say, we need to unite everybody into one
Right.
group and, come up with a separate process. So, anything's up for grabs, and the way the funds are, at least the federal funds, we have until 2024 or 2026.
We have until 2024 to get a planning
Like-
process, and we have until 2026 to execute that plan.
Right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so we have some time, we don't have to make that decision tonight, but I wanted to at least give them some support, so, okay, sounds good. Now, a topic near and dear to our clerk treasurer's heart. Next item on our agenda is the town hall, town park rental fees. And as Amy will remind us, I think pre-COVID,
Pre-COVID.
we started on this, and I don't know why, we had nothing better to do. We could have solved it, but we didn't. So Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at with this?
So pre-COVID, we initially started thinking about increasing prices for our town hall and town park rentals. I have surveyed several municipalities, the neighboring ones, Bailey's Harbor, Jacksonport, Egg Harbor, and they all have not considerably higher, but higher rates. And some are structured a little different depending on if you're using the whole day or a few hours or what room you're using or if you're using an outside pavilion. So with that being said, I am proposing that we increase the town hall rental from $100 to $150 for resident. Non-resident currently is $150. We would increase that to $200. And then non-Sevastopol organization, so it would be a non-for-profit organization that would be non-Sevastopol based, would be able to use the town hall for prorated $50. Currently, there's a little bit of gray area with that for us. In addition, we had talked about increasing the park rentals. Currently, it is $50 to rent the town park for a town resident. We would increase that to $75. Non-resident, it's currently $75. We would increase that to $100. Thoughts?
Well, I think, as Amy knows, because I've got on some of these conversations, we're being pushed a little bit by, especially by the nonprofit organizations, as to whether or not they're community-based, and how about, will I live in the community, or I drove through the community, and I was thinking about the community when I called, so could I get in on this? So, and if you, as you sign the bills, you notice the cleaning fees. The building's kept in great shape, but we spend a lot of money to keep the building in that condition, so I think the fees are justified. Those groups that are really Sevastopol groups basically are pretty much unchanged. So it won't impact the Bay Shore Plant Growers Association or whatever that you might have there, and so it makes sense to me, but what do the rest of you think?
I'll start, why not, I'm on this side. Let's go down the middle, right? I think there's some wording we need to clean up a little bit, but besides that, I think it's a great idea. Obviously, we're never gonna make money at the park or at this town hall.
Right.
Like, it's not, we're not here to make money on any of this. So, but the cleaning fees keep getting higher, and we do like to keep it nice and tidy for everybody, so I have no problem with either one.
Okay. You have some verbiage that you want changed?
Well, there's just a couple of spelling errors and just a couple omissions.
Spelling errors?
Well, you know, you and the or, and just little
Oh,
things there.
I'm sure that we could get someone to work those. Okay.
Oh, well, I believe this was written up by Linda, I'm not sure though.
This does look old.
Yeah.
Pretty old.
All right, I'm sorry, enough of that. Jeannie, any comments?
No, you know, Amy did her homework as she always would and does, and so I'm fine with that. I'm
Okay.
happy to hear that, you know, the nonprofits that actually are in the town of Sevastopol would not be paying a fee. That's good, so.
Okay. Linda?
Yeah, the community-based organizations has always been questionable. Like, okay, if the majority of your members are Sevastopol residents, we pretty much say, yeah, that's fine. I have no problem with increasing the resident and non-resident private party. Like you said, maintenance of the yard, plowing, utilities, I mean, there's a lot, cleaning, there's a lot to maintaining this building, so those, I think an increase is justified. But I would, you know, should we think about Sevastopol community-based organizations? So, I'll use Glidden Drive Association for an example, who always have their Christmas party here.
Right.
So they are using it without a fee. Ask that it be left in the condition in which they found it, although our cleaning person is such a fanatic that, I mean, she keeps the place spotless, obviously. So looking at the private party non-resident, which is 200, and then Sevastopol community-based, if it's a non-Sevastopol organization, why do we even have it under community-based? maybe we need to have, okay, a resident Sevastopol community-based organization rent for free, because the taxpayers obviously are supporting the building. Should we put that non-Sevastopol organization up, in a category by itself, not under community-based? And, maybe they should be 100, since they're non-resident? I'm trying to think of, name
No,
a
I-
Sevastopol organization, a non-Sevastopol organization, League of Women Voters.
Mhm.
Let's use them as an example. You know,
Or
Where are
Girl
they?
Scouts.
Well, they're members
Girl
of-
Scouts.
Girl Scouts use it regularly and
Yeah.
during this.
They haven't since COVID, so they didn't all last year, but yes,
But didn't they use the small conference room?
no.
Oh, okay. Did they start in the small conference room and grew out of it? Because I really thought they
They were
did.
kind of using both for the.
Some of them
Yeah.
had, right, and then they had glitter and fun
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
But I consider them Sevastopol based.
Of course.
They usually come over from school, so in my mind, they are Sevastopol based. But,
So where does the League of Women Voters come from?
well, that's what I'm saying,
what do
a
you say for
non-Sevastopol organization such as the League of Women Voters, or such as,
The Jacksonport Women's Fund.
Yeah.
Or
Or,
any other organization. I know that there's one coming up soon that she's a part of Sevastopol, but the organization is not, but wants it here. So that was a gray area.
Well, I mean, I think we could put the Jacksonville Women's Association into a separate category, not Sevastopol-based and didn't drive here. Whatever,
I guess my main point is,
Okay.
why is a non-Sevastopol organization
listed
lumped
under,
under Sevastopol community-based organizations? They should
We can move
be
it
by
up.
themselves.
Okay,
I'll buy that.
that makes sense.
And I'm not, is $50 enough? Should it be 100? I don't know. I mean, the deposit is returned,
Mhm.
so it's just a security deposit. So whether they, we don't retain any of that $100 unless the place is a disaster, so.
I personally I'm game with that. I mean, I can see why you'd move it regardless, whether
Okay.
the fee changes or not. Do you have any feedback from the other towns relative to that particular item? Do they define the,
Non-organizations?
yeah, none,
The town of Bailey's Harbor, so if they wanna use the town hall, a non-resident, non-property owner is $150 a day. So then if you have a town charitable organization, a non-for-profit 501c3, they're free. Then they have out-of-town charitable organizations, non-for-profit, $75 a day. For-profit organizations are $250 a day. So they have it broken down a little more than what we have it.
do we have any for-profit, nonprofits? I don't even know
Well,
that makes, what was the category again? I said that
It
wrong.
said for-profit organizations, so
For-profit.
sometimes one of the Democratic Party has a doing here, or a representative from the Republican Party has some sort of doing. That would be a for-profit, correct?
Oh, they like a fundraiser or something, like
A dinner.
a dinner or something like
I've
that?
had them call in
Yeah.
dinners, or
What, the
yeah.
paper plate type deal?
I don't attend, so I
But
don't
you know
know.
what I mean, is that what, something like that?
Yeah, I would think we would,
If you look at the first paragraph on page 2, though, the last line says, organizations that are considered for-profit will not be considered for facility use. Maybe you
Right.
should say for free, or will be charged, or something like that.
no, I think,
I think the intent was to not have it for
For-profit.
profit. For
You mean
profit.
using it at all?
correct. I hate to say this, but I think I did this. I think I worked on this
So it's not
I
Linda?
can't blame Linda completely, but I'm sure
It's
she,
all the
ty-
old people on the
I'm
board
sure
worked
she,
on it.
I'm sure she typed it, but I believe that issue was exactly what we attempted to do, which is if it's a
This old person.
for-profit organization to make money, they don't use it, period. That's true. Now that thank you for reminding me in my decrepit old age. So you want to move the non-Sevastopol organization to a separate category, which is fine. I think that makes sense. And, and so we take it from either 50 to 100, or we take it from 50 to 75. We ought to take it to at least 75.
Well,
I
that's-
would say at least
That's what
75.
Bailey's Harbor
Yeah.
had, right? You said 75. And then if it was a,
Correct, Bailey's Harbor said, so out of town charitable organizations and non-for-profit 501c3s are 75 a day up in Bailey's Harbor.
Okay, then I would suggest we follow that same guidance.
so the non-Sevastopol organization, how it's listed in here, would be 75, and it would also go to
It's
its
separate.
own category.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other,
I'd agree with that, going to 75, no matter how dirty or somewhat clean it is, it normally takes 3 to 3.5 hours to get it done.
should we get somebody faster?
You can try.
You may get somebody
Whoa.
faster, but you
There's
won't
a-
get anybody better.
There's a lot of shots going around here, I think that,
He's still smiling.
that's all right.
Thank you, Stacy.
All right, so, want somebody make a motion on this, please?
And your misery, is that what
Yeah, please, before I dig myself a hole any deeper, I have to send Stacy flowers.
Is anybody moving?
I'm waiting.
Well, do we have to name the prices in the new?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a move. Make
You make a move?
I'll make a move.
I'll move on out of here. I will make a motion that we increase the town hall rental agreement so that private party rent would, for a resident, will be $150, correct?
Yes.
And private party rent for a non-resident will be $200, and that is per day. Security, cleaning, key deposit will remain at $100. Sevastopol community-based organizations, resident in town will remain $0. Non-Sevastopol organizations will move to its own category or line and will be $75 per day. And the town park rental will, for a town resident, daily rental pavilion only will be $75. Non-resident pavilion only rental will be $100. And I guess town park rental, the entire thing, remains $100. After we get a second, I have a question on this.
Second.
Okay, motion by Linda, second by Mark, correct? To revise the town hall rental agreement as well as the Sevastopol Town Park Pavilion rental agreement as noted. Any further discussion?
Well, my question would be to Mr. Hain, is $100 per day for the entire park rental? Are you satisfied with that, Mark, that that's adequate?
We only have one time a year that happens typically.
Yeah, it's, again, we're never gonna make money, no matter what we do over there, we lose
It
money.
covers enough.
It covers enough.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we have a motion by Linda, second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, thank you. Make a large note about not-for-profit too. dilapidated properties and condemnation. So, a little bit of wishful thinking here, but the Muscat property, which we all know and love, has an offer to purchase, and we thought it would be closed by now, but it got delayed. Did we get a revised date at all?
I have not, but I'm going to check in with them tomorrow.
Okay. The good news is that Amy was asked to do some paperwork regarding the purchase. It triggered a conversation that I had with Amy Sullivan, saying, okay, they're selling 2 of the 3 parcels, not the parcel that we did the work on. Is there a way for us to recover that? And Amy did some legwork and made some phone calls, and it appears, although it's not a done deal, it appears that when it closes, the proceeds from the other 2 properties will be used to pay off ours, which would be great. There's a $1,000 interest and penalties charge every month on that money that we spent to tear down those buildings. So the plan is they intend to sell it at some future date, and they would like that amount not to go up exponentially. So the thought process is we think that it's going to be paid off much sooner than we anticipated. At least we're hopeful. If the money that we believe, the commitment which came from the attorney, their attorney involved in the sale, if it doesn't, we do have an option to take them to court and try and recover the funds early rather than waiting. And frankly, we might do that. But right now, it looks like could be good news. So the second side of this conversation is that in order to do what we did, we condemned that property. And we have a couple other properties in the town that are in very similar shape. One of them being the mobile home that we all know and love. So my thought process, and I'm not looking for a decision tonight, but the thought process is that if we recover these funds, we should reinvest some of that money and take care of a couple of these things. And in the process, what I would need to do, and we don't have to make that decision tonight, although we could, is we need to engage the building inspector and say, you need to go out, inspect and condemn, and then we do the legal work. And that gives the owner the opportunity to remove it, and if they don't, then we would step in, remove it, and put it on their tax bill. So, I guess what I want you to do is give that some thought. I will bring it back next month, and if you think it makes sense, we'll identify a couple properties, and assuming we get the funds, we'll start the process.
Can we get Brett to go out there and start looking now? I mean,
I could, I have to spend, Brett doesn't do that for free.
well, I know that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly tell Brett
it's
that.
not that expensive to have him go out there and,
Right, he
condemn
has to
them.
do paperwork and then it gets submitted to the
Yep.
attorney. My gut feel would be, I'd like to wait till we know on the closing where we stand, because it will be a lot easier to spend a few more bucks knowing we got it all coming back. So I'll roll it back to next month, and hopefully we'll have an update from Amy on the closing, and maybe we'll have a nice check to cash. So, okay?
Could I just make a comment?
Sure.
So now that our property management committee was dissolved a year and a half ago or whatever, I've kind of been keeping a list of complaints that we've received or I've received. I don't know if that's something that we would want to look at, if you recover funds as well. Some of them I think are minor, 2 have actually been cleaned up. 1 is at the county level, so.
These will be
something-
buildings? Structure
Premises,
issues?
maybe we'll get some cooperation in, the beautification campaign that's gonna be mentioned in our newsletter.
Okay,
So-
all right. We can take a look
But
at
I
it.
am keeping track, so when people do complain.
All right. Okay, also at your desk tonight was a copy of the letter from Amy Sullivan. I requested an opinion from Amy with respect to the right-of-way. For those, if you recall back on the road tour back in May, we went through a number of areas where people had what I can only assume to be free limestone day. I mean, like, just, you have a pickup truck, you come by, we throw a couple ton limestone block in your car, and then you take it home and put it at the end of your driveway. all kidding aside, there's just an abundance of stonework that has appeared throughout the town in our right-of-way, which causes numerous problems. One is it's difficult for plowing. More importantly, the town is liable should someone get injured in hitting one of those items parked in the right-of-way. So it's our responsibility to make sure that those right-of-ways are clear. We have 3 or 4 that I have on the list that we have letters ready to go. I just wanted you to review her opinion in terms of what we should do. And we'll have some letters for you to sign. The right-of-way responsibility rests with the town for enforcement. If someone does not follow through, we go through our attorney. If the right-of-way involved a structure, if somebody put an actual structure, they did one, for example, a couple of years ago on the lakeside, then the county would come in because structures fall into a different category, a wall, that kind of thing. But most of these issues revolve around limestone boulders or excessive rocks that are well into the roadway, and some of them are, I mean, right on the edge of the pavement. So we're gonna send out letters on those. We also have a couple others where people have decided to change the shouldering. So it's, we're gonna chase some of those down. I wanted you to be aware of it. Amy Sullivan firmly believes that we need to take action on those, and that it's pretty specific that we should not, we'll have issues, no doubt, but, you know, their defense.
Case by case.
Right, case by case. So we'll have some of those. You'll be copied in on them. If you are aware of some, you know, let us know. Obviously, I'm not out looking for them, but when we take a tour or somebody calls or the plow driver says, I can't get through, it becomes an issue, and we do not want to be liable. So, all right? All right, with that, since we have approved the ordinance for short-term rentals, the next step here would be the resolution for the license fees. And as I indicated earlier, this is done through a resolution so we can modify them without having to modify the ordinance. The starting point is $300 for the initial term and $250 for the renewal. If next year at this time and we find that our enforcement and whatever is minimal, we'll take it down to whatever the cost to have Granicus monitor and, you know, small administrative fee, and go from there. So if you're in agreement, a motion would be in order to approve that.
I'll move to approve resolution number blank dash 2021, whatever is the next resolution for the town board, TB, town board. Short-term rental license fees, that the initial short-term rental license application fee be $300. The renewal short-term license application fee would be $250. Late filing fee $100. Inspection fee as necessary or needed $100.
We have a motion by Linda, second by,
I'll second.
second by Derek, to approve the fees for the license application for short-term rental. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, into the financial reports. You have the account balances as of June 30th, the budget versus actual, and the transaction lists by date for this month. And Amy, do you have any comments to add?
I do. The town has received its fire dues for 2021. Residents are continuing to build within the town, which puts our building permit income at 50% of the budgeted amount, which is roughly $50,000. If you pay your property taxes in halves, the second half is due by the end of this month.
All good news. All right, thank you.
Can I make a request?
Sure.
Could I make a request, Amy? I mentioned this before. Okay, account number 5690001, under expenditures. We have that as comprehensive planning. Could we maybe, since we're done with comprehensive planning and have been, could we maybe just put plan commission?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? If not, the motion 2 would be approved. People are slow tonight on motions. I don't know what it is. Would someone like to
Okay,
make a
I'll
motion
move to approve the financial reports for June 2021, not 2020,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
as
bad.
submitted.
I'll second that.
Oh, I'm gonna, I'll have to have words with the clerk. Okay, we have a motion by Linda, second by Jeannie, to approve the financial reports for June of 2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, approval of vouchers, bills, and claims. I think everybody signed them? Okay, if there are no questions, a motion, I hate to ask for a motion. If somebody feels like giving us.
I feel like it.
You do? Okay, great.
I'd like to make a motion to approval of vouchers, bills, and claims from June 22nd, 2021 through July 19th, 2021.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
That was a motion by Mark, seconded by?
I'll second that.
I have to hear that. Second by Jeannie. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Done. Oral committee commission reports. You have in your packet the plan commission reports from Tuesday, June 15th. And then there's a whole packet of things in here that I'm assuming Ms. Waite's gonna share some salient points.
Oh, I would love to,
Okay, well, let's, I'll tell you,
whenever
let's,
you're ready.
let's approve the plan commission meeting minutes from June 15th first.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th.
All right, motion by Derek, second
Second.
by Mark. Here we go, we're back on a roll. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, okay. Door County Tourism Zone 2020 Annual Meeting. This must have been a long meeting, Linda.
It was.
Yes.
All right,
After 11.
I'm not gonna go through all of the information that was included in the packet. It's there for, you know, you can see where things are going with the tourism zone and, as far as who's, you know, the share of the rentals, the room tax and where it's coming from and the growth or whatever. I think we're already up 65% over, the normal 2019 year. So I will not go through all of that. There's a lot happening between the Tourism Zone Commission and Destination Door County. Right now, Mr. Elliott tells us that 14 municipalities have signed on with the 8% room tax increase.
how many do
And-
we need?
13?
13, so it's a done.
So 14 have committed at the 8% rate, but they are working on, each municipality would have to enter into a revised ordinance, you know, each one, which is almost okayed and ready, if not ready already. They're working on the intergovernmental agreement, so among all of the 19 member municipalities. And it could possibly be ready for our August agenda to come back to the towns.
And we have to take action on that, which we have
Right.
delayed. Okay,
Right, so
great.
that would be the ordinance, the intergovernmental agreement,
You'll
so all
make
that'll be
note of that,
covered in
Amy?
there.
Okay.
Right. And I don't know, and Destination Door County, so at our Door County unit meeting on Thursday, August 26th, right here at the Sevastopol Town Hall, all town officers from all towns in Door County are invited. There's also promotion, if we get really good attendance, we get some bonus points and some bonus bucks. so I would encourage everybody to attend. Our speaker is John Drosh. Jarsh? Sorry, John. So he will tell us everything we want to know about Destination Door County, especially if the room tax is increased with the split 30-70 or whatever it's going to be, and how those funds can be used. And then also, from the tourism zone, I think you probably know that Representative Kitchens was working with the Assembly and with the Senate, and finally now I believe Governor Evers has signed a bill that is putting a little more teeth into the marketplace providers actually remitting the room tax. So there's a law in the books that says you have to pay room tax. Well, apparently that was kind of blown off. So now we have another law in the books saying you have to pay room tax. And the Department of Revenue is going to be making up reporting forms. The downside is it's going to be quarterly reporting. So we will not be getting a monthly check from those marketplace providers. It will be on a quarterly basis, which I think will make things even more confusing because you're dealing with 3 months as opposed to 1 month. One thing I felt odd is that the reporting will not require the addresses of the property that's being rented. So I mentioned, you know, for consistency and comparison purposes, wouldn't it be nice if the tourism zone and DATCAP and the municipalities all had an address?
And what
No.
was Mr. Kitchen's response?
Be lucky for what you got.
Because the lobby is so strong
Correct.
from these
Yes.
big.
Ms. Vogel was in on that, you know, on our tourism zone call. So it's the Airbnb, it's the VRBOs, it's other hospitality providing businesses that, and there are there's some delinquencies out there already. They're not reporting. I don't know why. They should not be held accountable. Ultimately, the owner is accountable for remitting that room tax. Those are escrow funds that these marketplace providers are holding, and they should not be holding them. They should be remitting them on a regular basis. So they ignore subpoenas. Mr. Kitchens did indicate that, okay, if we don't get good response and cooperation, maybe it has to go to the Department of Justice for enforcement. So, like I said, a lot going on when it comes to Destination Door County and the tourism zone. I think that's,
Thank you, Linda.
you're welcome.
You gave me a great lead-in too, so thank you for that. I just wanted to update one park-related item, which I've been working on, which is the renovation of the tennis courts into a combination tennis pickleball court. We hired a designer who did all the necessary groundwork and specs and bid the project in June with some hope of movement. And when it came time for the bids, there was no bids. So it's not something I typically would have expected, but given COVID and the backlog of work, everybody is basically backed off of this project. So with the recommendation of the designer, we're going to rebid it in October for March, April of '22, or sometime in the spring of '22, to further move that ahead. And I think then by then most of this stuff, for example, Northeast Asphalt, who would have been one of the bidders, was the prime contractor on all the paving throughout the county, obviously had limited capacity. I also mention this because it dovetails behind Destination Door County. With the room tax passing, it'll change the way that we get billed for the room tax commission portion. And that fee is going to be increased fairly significantly over what we've had in the past, but it will be offset by the increase in the percent. But we have an opportunity for tourist-related expenses to recover that. So once this thing all happens, the park the pickleball tennis courts would fall into that category. So we could use that as a way to recoup the money that otherwise we would not get because we do not have a business community like Bailey's Harbor, Fish Creek, et cetera. So there's some good news in there. Maybe the delay is beneficial because it gives us some added funding and potential. So I'll just leave it at that. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to report on?
Oh, could I just say something about the coastal byway? So we had a coastal byway meeting this morning. We're probably not gonna go for a GEM grant, but we may be asking municipalities and/or business sponsors for an additional funds to just upgrade our website and so that it's phone app friendly and just a couple other tweaks. So just for your information, I'll try to remember that at budget time.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. License and permits. You have the Door County inspections for the month. All right. And we have a request for a temporary liquor license for the infamous Burning Cow. Amy?
So the Door Devil Motorcycle Club made application for a temporary Class B picnic license beginning of June for their event that is August 12th through the 14th. I know last time there was a little bit of commotion around the amount of noise that they made, so I'm bringing this to the board to approve.
It wasn't the amount of noise, it was the length of
Okay.
noise.
I mean, it went to the.
1 o'clock,
Yeah.
one morning, 2:30 one morning. 'Cause I live within spitball distance of there, so. And it wasn't me, the one that was complaining. I had people coming, neighbors coming to me and people calling.
Well,
and
that's because
asking.
you were there.
I was not, I didn't have to go. I sat in my yard and listened.
It was an advantage. You didn't have to pay the fee.
And I talked to them, I talked to Ken Cease, and he said that he was not aware of it. He left at 10 o'clock and he thought they were wrapping up. If you look at their, last year's, was it last year's, year before, Derek Demise actually brought this up to me, their list of
Activities.
artists, the one started at 10 o'clock. So,
So
those ordinances is 10.
do we want to put some kind of timetable on this?
We talked about this last time too, and kind of all shrugged our shoulders and didn't.
Well, I'll tell you what, Amy, if we grant this, why don't we just give him a document that says if after such and such a time there are issues, it may impact their ability to get a future license.
What time do you want that to be?
That's, well, Mark, you normally go to bed at 9, so
That's not me, but my family does. I would say give them an extension at least to 11, but the problem with the giving an extension 11,
Don't make it 12.
well, by the time you pick up and the band does their final play, it doesn't bother me personally because it's just background noise. It's loud.
we'll put something together, Amy, that says that the event has shut down targeted for 11 with complete by midnight, something to that effect.
Yep.
You need it, get back to me, we'll word something up and just say, hey, they gotta be able to monitor that to some degree and anticipate, so if they wanna do it again next year. All right. So we don't actually, well, you want us to approve this, right? All right, we will. Motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make the motion to approve the application for a Class B picnic permit for the Burning Cow, August 12th through the 14th, 2021.
Second by?
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mark, second by Linda to
Quick.
approve.
Could I have
Sure.
so should it say retailers? This says retailers license. Does it matter?
Do you want to do the proper wording?
You want
No.
proper wording? No, okay.
We can do the proper wording.
We know what we're talking.
Mhm.
Yeah, they have to plug, check the box, yes?
I just looked at the website to see their schedule of events. Burning Cow 2021 canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not talked to Ken since they had a small doing, I want to say mid-June, where they asked for a picnic license, and it was just going to be something small done by 10 o'clock. Did you hear that one? No? Okay.
Well, this is be perfect. It'll be very quiet then.
I'll be in contact with him
So
then.
when was that,
That one
When
was
was-
updated.
when was that
I
event?
closed it down, I'm sorry. It said 2021, but,
Door County,
uh-huh.
it burned cow all over the world.
Do you have the same thing, Mark?
I'm just gonna look right now.
All right, well, if it
Well,
works,
neither
we'll
here nor
approve it.
there.
If it doesn't,
Yeah.
no problem.
Hmm.
So now, who started this? Mark, right?
Yes.
Yes, and
All right.
second by Linda.
All right, all those in favor of granting an application for temporary liquor license to the Door Devils Motorcycle Club signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Either way, the $15, if we get it or we don't get it, will exist. We'll be okay. Correspondence. We have received $55,000 as a portion of our general transportation aids. As Amy mentioned, we got $139,523 as partial payment of our federal funds. And in front of you tonight, I gave each of you a packet of frequently asked questions. There's a 2-inch high pile of documentation that came with this money. I'd almost like to give it back. But I did go through the frequently asked questions, and there are some areas that I think we could use the money, so I just want to talk about them for a couple minutes, and we'll bring it back next month and see what we can do. One of the uses that's an accepted use is to consider setting up some kind of incentive for people to take COVID shots. So you've all heard about Ohio and some of these other states where you could win millions of dollars or get a free car or whatever. So there is an opportunity, if we decide we want to pursue it, where we could set something up that says, okay, if you're 40 and under, live in the town and haven't had the shot, we'll put your name in a drawing to whatever, which would be one use that is a legitimate use. Park expansion, this is one of those little nebulous kind of things, but as you read through it, the effort is to encourage recreation amongst youth and students. And so I think there's some opportunity to maybe perhaps do a pavilion update, something that we talked about a few years ago, where we could put some sidewalls, half sidewalls, which makes it a little more usable, some tables, table counters, just as another one. Enhance the playground area. We've never really tackled that, but I think we could do something there. The school has also mentioned the bleachers, maybe make them handicap accessible, so maybe we pursue something along those lines. Then there's this category of student recreation, so I don't know how that plays exactly, but it potentially could circle back to the park, since the school uses the park as its recreational, one of its recreational areas. A revenue loss replacement. Amy be reading this for about 2 months, but there's a formula in there that calculates the impact of COVID on your budget, and there's a way you can use some of those funds to supplement your budget. No idea how we're gonna get there, but it's a process. The other thing that we can do is we could recover the premium pay that we had used earlier during COVID. Just take that money back, not, just simply recover it, because they've defined that as an area that was expensable. And then the last one would be broadband. So we'll take a look at these. I'd like you to look at the frequently asked questions, which give you some ideas and thought starters. I will tell you there's some things in there that I would never want to even begin to tackle. Excuse me, they're complex. I don't know how we deal with them. As you read through the FAQs, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. So we'll try and focus in on things that we could maybe have an impact in the community with. So, enough of that. You also have a listing of the April 2021 permitted properties in the town. Notice of timber cutting. And that's it for correspondence. 3 announcements. Our next meeting is August 16th at 7 p.m. The Burning Cow may or may not be August 12th through the 14th. The Valmy Threshery, August 20th through the 22nd. We're looking at trying to promote that on the billboard for them, just as a heads up. Amy's working on that for me. And items for next month, we're gonna bring back 2 or 3 things from this month. Dilapidated properties, depending on where we're at, and we'll talk about room tax and a few other things. Anyone else have something they'd like added?
Are our county board members gonna come back ever and do reports? They're getting a little lax here, it's been quite some time.
That would be a good ask.
Remember how nice Linda always was for us?
Well, we have one county board member's spouse here, so she might,
Are you requesting that I ask the
Nudge,
county
nudge.
board representative to attend?
yes.
I'll
And
take that into consideration.
All right.
Here we go.
No, I agree, it's a good idea, get some flavor for where they're going here. All right, that leaves us with the last and final item, and I'm gonna guess that I'm gonna get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Derek, second by Mark, to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.